Seraphina, Sera, didn't look up when the bell above the door of Petal and Vine chimed. She was too busy tracing the jagged edges of a final notice from the bank, the scent of fresh-cut hydrangeas and imminent ruin warring in the air. The tiny shop on St. Jude Street was her inheritance and her cage, a relic she fought tooth and nail to keep afloat. Today, she didn't just need a sale, she needed a miracle to stop the auction signs from being posted by the end of the week. The customer was an unexpected contradiction, a woman of advanced age, yet radiating the quiet, cold confidence of money that had never been questioned. This was Signora Moretti. She requested something singular, a perfect snow-white rose, the kind that demands attention. As Sera's gaze drifted to the stack of unpaid bills beneath the counter, the ethical guardrails of her desperation collapsed. She selected the exquisite Polar Star hybrid, knowing its true value was around $50. Her hand shook slightly as she tagged the stem with a price of $500, justifying the fraud as a supplier rarity fee needed to survive the winter. Signora Moretti didn't flinch. She simply counted out the cash, her eyes cold and clear, meeting Sera's for a beat too long. That look wasn't outrage, it was an unnerving acknowledgement of Sera's desperate, greedy choice. The inciting incident was done. Sera felt a fleeting, shameful triumph, quickly buried by the sense that she had just sold her soul for rent. She locked up that evening, the heavy scent of the remaining blooms offering no comfort. The next morning, the relative peace of St. Jude Street was shattered by the appearance of a long, charcoal black Maserati that parked directly outside her window, its engine idling like a sleeping predator. Nicolo Moretti, sharply tailored and radiating unforgiving power, emerged. He moved with the focused, silent intent of an executioner. In one hand, he carried the single $500 Polar Star rose, the white petals a glaring, silent indictment against the dark glass of the shop. The sight of the evidence and the man who held it signaled the end of Sera's safe world.
Nicolo Moretti didn't knock. He entered Petal and Vine like he owned it, which Sera would soon learn he essentially did. The rose dangled between his fingers, evidence and accusation in one perfect bloom. $500, he said, his voice smooth as silk and twice as deadly. For a rose worth $50. Sera's throat went dry. She recognized the name now, the tailored suit, the controlled menace. This wasn't just any angry customer. This was the man who controlled half the city's underworld with a handshake and a smile. "I can refund." No. He placed the rose on her counter with surgical precision. "You exploited my mother. That insult requires restitution." He leaned forward, and she caught expensive cologne mixed with danger. "You work for me now, exclusively. Every arrangement, every event, every flower in my organization goes through you." "That's insane! I have a business!" "You have a failing shop 3 weeks from foreclosure." His words were scalpel precise. "I'm offering a solution. Create beauty for my world, and I ensure this place doesn't become a parking lot. Refuse, and I own this building by Friday." It wasn't negotiation, it was sentencing. "When do I start?" "Now." He produced a business card. "My driver collects you at 6. And Miss Romano, in my world, loyalty is currency, and betrayal is death. You're an asset now, nothing more. If you can't stand people who exploit others' desperation, then act like they're the victim. Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. Type, 'Nobody deserves that.' Because what happened next only got worse.
The Moretti estate existed in a different universe. Through 3 security checkpoints, past armed guards and manicured lawns,
Sera arrived at a greenhouse that belonged in a botanical fantasy. Orchids from Thailand, roses from Ecuador, lilies worth more than her annual revenue stretched into the artificial twilight. Nicolo waited inside, jacket removed, sleeves rolled. Somehow the casualness made him more dangerous. Your first assignment, he gestured to a tablet showing schematics. Meeting with the Calabrese family. 15 arrangements, 48 hours. Theme, strength, and tradition. Despite her resentment, Sera's professional instincts fired. Crimson roses, dark calla lilies, eucalyptus accents, black magic roses if available. Already here. He opened a refrigeration unit containing exactly what she'd specified. Of course, he was 3 steps ahead. As her hands moved toward the flowers, muscle memory overriding anger, she asked, "Why flowers? You run an empire." Nicolo studied her with unnerving intensity. "My father said, violence is easy. Any thug can intimidate. But real power is in details. Flowers communicate respect, dominance, sophistication. They separate us from common criminals." He moved closer. "You create beauty, Miss Romano. I weaponize it. Get to work. Marco drives you home at midnight. Don't think about running. I have eyes on your shop, your apartment, everyone you know. You're mine now." She hated that her hands already knew what to create, hated more that some dark part of her thrived under the pressure.
3 weeks later, Sera made her move. The routine had become suffocating. Days at her shop, nights creating arrangements for criminals, but the work was extraordinary. And Nicolo's constant observation had become almost familiar. For a meeting with the rival Terranova family, he'd specified red and white roses, unity and respect. Sera wove in yellow roses instead, jealousy, orange lilies, hatred, and buried deep, oleander, beautiful, fragrant, deadly symbolism. Her tiny rebellion, her proof she wasn't broken. Nicolo found her at 11 p.m., 2 hours before the meeting. "Explain the oleander." Sera's hand stilled. "I thought it looked nice." "Try again." His voice was blade sharp. "You thought you'd sabotage me with poisonous symbolism, make me look weak?" She turned to face him. "You want weapons? That's a weapon." Shockingly, he laughed, low and dark. "You have no self-preservation instinct." He moved into her space, close enough she saw amber flecks in his eyes. "You're angry that you're good at this, furious that you're thriving despite everything. Terrified you're starting to understand my world." He plucked the oleander out with surgical precision. "I'll allow one rebellion. It shows spirit. But compromise my standing again, and I'll systematically dismantle everyone you've ever cared about. Understand?" "Perfectly. Remake it, correctly. And Ms. Romano, if you want to hurt me, do it directly. Cowardice doesn't suit you." He was right, and she hated it. She was good at this, and some twisted part craved his approval.
The envelope arrived Tuesday morning. Sera opened it with shaking hands, finding her commercial loan paid in full, $48,000, with a note. "Your shop is safe. The debt has merely transferred. N.M." She stormed into his study that evening, bypassing Marco's protests. "What the hell did you do?" Nicolo barely glanced up. "Protected my investment. Your shop being seized would interrupt your schedule. I solved a problem." I didn't ask for help. Precisely why it was necessary. He set down his pen. You're under the delusion you have autonomy. You don't. Your successes are mine. Failures are mine. Debts are mine to manage. I'm not your property. No, you're more valuable, my artisan, and I protect what's mine. The possessiveness should have terrified her. Instead, dangerous heat flooded her veins. If you believe in standing your ground against people who try to own you, hit that subscribe button. People like Nicolo won't, and you need to hear what happened next. It means I'm a slave. It means you're protected. His voice roughened. You're exposed every time you walk to your shop. The moment I paid that loan, you became a target. Marco appeared, grim-faced. Boss, Ricci's crew on St. Jude Street, 2 cars, asking about the flower shop. Something deadly crossed Nicolo's face. Double security on Ms. Romano, 24-hour detail. He turned to Sera. You're staying here tonight, non-negotiable. I can take care of. This isn't about your independence anymore. His jaw clenched. This is about keeping you alive.
Signora Moretti appeared at Petal and Vine the following week, unannounced. Sera nearly dropped the scissors she was holding. Signora, I'm so sorry about... The older woman raised one elegant hand. I didn't come for apologies, child. I came to understand the woman my son has acquired. She moved through the shop with the assessing eye of someone who'd spent decades reading people for survival. Her fingers traced a display of white orchids. You overcharged me out of desperation, not malice. I saw that immediately. She turned, and her eyes, so like Nicolo's, held Sera captive. What I didn't expect was for my son to become invested beyond restitution. I'm just his florist. Cara, I've seen his florists. They deliver and leave. You? He watches you like a man watches something precious and dangerous. He selected a single lily, examining it. My son's world is unforgiving. His enemies will use any weakness. You've become one. I didn't ask. None of us ask for the roles we play. Signora Moretti placed money on the counter, exactly $50. For the lily, fair price. She moved toward the door, pausing. Nicolo's father died protecting what he loved. My son learned to protect by controlling. Don't mistake his cage for cruelty, Miss Romano. Sometimes it's the only love men like him know how to give. The door chimed, and Sera stared at the $50, understanding, blooming like the flowers around her. The event was Nicolo's most important yet. A summit with 3 major families, held in a restored palazzo that Sera had transformed into a garden of controlled chaos. Cascading arrangements spoke of power and prosperity, every stem placed with intention. Nicolo found her in the empty hall afterward, surrounded by her creations. He'd loosened his tie, and exhaustion softened the dangerous edges she'd grown accustomed to. It was perfect, he said simply. That's my job. No, your job is adequate. This was... He moved closer, and the air between them charged with something beyond employer and employee, beyond captor and captive. This was art in service of empire. You're welcome. She should have moved away.
didn't. I've been unfair to you. The admission seemed torn from him. This arrangement, it was supposed to be punishment, restitution, but you've become… what? Necessary. His hand came up, fingertips ghosting along her jaw. Sera's breath caught. You don't do weakness. No, I don't. His thumb traced her lower lip, and her entire body ignited. Then, this is catastrophically poor judgment. Then stop. I can't. The confession was raw. Believe me, Sera, I've tried. When he kissed her, it wasn't gentle. It was claim and surrender, possession and permission, everything they'd been circling for months compressed into a single moment of absolute inevitability. Sera kissed him back with equal ferocity, her hands fisting in his shirt, years of fighting for scraps beating his lifetime of taking what he wanted. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, the power dynamic had irrevocably shifted. This complicates things, she whispered. Everything about you complicates things. But he smiled, genuine, unguarded. I'm starting not to mind.
The warning came 48 hours later. Nicolo's informant intercepted chatter from the Ricci family. They'd obtained records of the original $500 transaction and were planning to use it as proof of weakness. The narrative: Nicolo Moretti couldn't even protect his own mother from a common scam. His reputation, carefully built over decades, was about to crumble. Worse, they planned to target Signora Moretti directly. They're using my mistake as ammunition, Sera said, pacing Nicolo's study. This is my fault. No, this is them exploiting an opportunity. But tension radiated from him like heat. They've moved her to a safe house, but Ricci's smart. He'll find her. The flower delivery, Sera stopped, realization crystallizing. Your mother orders fresh flowers twice weekly, always from the same supplier on Via Rosa. If Ricci's been watching her patterns, he'll intercept the delivery and follow it to her location. Nicolo's eyes met hers, and something shifted. Partnership where there'd been possession. Tell me what you need.
I can help. Sera moved to his desk. I know that supplier, know their roots. If we control the delivery, we control the trap. Nicolo's eyes met hers, and something shifted. Partnership where there'd been possession. Tell me what you need. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Sera would create a special arrangement for Signora Moretti, delivered through the usual Via Rosa supplier, but tracked by Nicolo's team. When Ricci's men followed the delivery, they'd lead them straight into a carefully prepared ambush. Sera worked in the greenhouse, Nicolo beside her, both of them moving with the synchronized precision of people who'd learned each other's rhythms through proximity and pressure. White roses for innocence, she murmured, selecting stems, but thorned, heavily thorned. Appropriate, Nicolo's lips quirked. My mother would appreciate the metaphor. The delivery went out at noon. By 2 p.m., Ricci's crew had taken the bait. Nicolo's team tracked them through the city, waiting for the perfect moment. When Ricci's men converged on what they thought was Signora Moretti's safe house, they found Nicolo instead, flanked by every ally he'd cultivated over 2 decades. The confrontation was brief and brutal. Ricci, faced with overwhelming force and exposed ambition, had 2 choices: submit or die. He chose survival. Nicolo returned to the greenhouse at midnight, jacket discarded, a cut above his eyebrow the only evidence of violence. He found Sera waiting. Your mother? Safe, already threatening to attend Sunday dinner as if nothing happened. He crossed to her, cupping her face with careful hands. You saved her. You saved my reputation. You saved everything I've built. We're even then. The debt's paid.
No. Nicolo's thumb traced her cheekbone. The debt was paid the moment you remade that oleander arrangement. Everything since has been something else. What? Choice. He stepped back, pulling an envelope from his desk. Your shop's loan cleared. No strings. You're free to leave, Sera. Walk away. I won't stop you. Sera stared at the envelope, at the freedom she'd fought for since her father died. St. Jude Street, her independence, her life without dangerous men and weaponized flowers. Everything she'd wanted. She thought of the past months, the greenhouse's humid embrace, Nicolo watching her work with the focus of a man studying holy texts, the way his world had tested her and she'd risen to meet it, the kiss that had rewritten every rule between them. I'm staying. And Sera, not as your captive, not as restitution. She moved into his space, claiming ground he'd first taken from her. As your partner, your equal, the woman who creates beauty for your empire and expects to be treated like the asset you claimed I was. Nicolo's laugh was low, pleased, edged with relief. Dangerous negotiation, Miss Romano. I learned from the best, Mr. Moretti. He kissed her then, softer than the first time, but no less claiming. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. My mother will be insufferable about this. She'll say she planned it from the moment she paid that $500. Did she? Probably, he smiled. She always was smarter than me. 3 months later, Sera stood in Nicolo's private office, designing the space with flowers that spoke of devotion and unbreakable bonds. Petal and Vine thrived under new management, her protégé running daily operations while Sera focused on the Moretti Empire's exclusive needs. She'd transformed from a desperate florist into something infinitely more dangerous, the woman beside the throne, the artisan who weaponized beauty, the partner who'd chosen captivity and alchemized it into power. Nicolo entered, watching her work with that familiar intensity. Signora Moretti wants you at Sunday dinner. As what? Your employee? As family. He wrapped arms around her waist, chin resting on her shoulder. Fair warning, she's already planning our engagement. Sera leaned into him, surveying her floral architecture. White roses intertwined with red, strength married to beauty, violence softened by art. She overcharged me that day, didn't she? The guilt, the test, all of it. Almost certainly. Smart woman. She raised a smart son. Sera turned in his arms, meeting eyes that once terrified her and now felt like home. You know what the irony is? I thought charging her $500 would save me. Instead, it gave me everything I didn't know I needed. Careful, Sera. That almost sounds like gratitude. Don't push it, Moretti. He kissed her. Claim and promise, past and future, the debt that had become devotion. Outside, St. Jude Street carried on without knowing a struggling florist had become a queen. Inside, surrounded by flowers that spoke of loyalty stronger than fear, Sera Romano accepted the crown she'd never wanted and discovered it fit perfectly. If you watched or listened up to this point, comment the country you're watching this from. Represent your country. The white rose from that first day sat preserved in glass on Nicolo's desk, a $500 mistake that had bought them both exactly what they needed, even if neither had known it at the time.